Colin Pitchfork sat watching Crime Watch when it was aired about Dawn's last movements. He remarked to his wife, "They haven't got a bloody clue, have they?" But for the smug Colin Pitchfork, he was about to embark on a long journey.
Colin Pitchfork received his letter in January 1987. This caused unease and panic, and a couple of weeks later he received a reminder.
You see, Colin Pitchfork, well, he believed in science. The police were aware it was taking a considerable amount of time to get the samples back in, and they still had no answers. Pitchfork started to get a little bit stressed and a little bit desperate, and he started asking people at the bakery to take the test for him. A couple declined, but there was one person that seemed to be sucked in by Colin Pitchfork's pity story.
Ian had only worked at the bakery for 6 months. Pitchfork stated he couldn't take the test, as he'd already taken one for a friend who had been done for flashing and robberies.
The gullible Ian accompanied Colin Pitchfork to Leicester train station to a photo booth. And once Ian Kelly's photos were processed, they went back to Colin's house, and while Ian was watching the TV, Colin was cleverly doctoring the passports by removing his photograph and replacing it with Ian Kelly's. On the 27th of January 1987, Colin drove Ian Kelly to the school to take the test on his behalf, and afterwards he drove him home. He said, "Cheers mate," and mum's the word. Pitchfork even put a plaster on his arm to show his wife he'd taken the test. On the 1st of August 1987, which was a Saturday, Ian Kelly and a few of his work colleagues decided to take their lunch break at a local pub, the Clarendon in Leicester. They had a couple of drinks and a bite to eat, and the conversation was flowing. The topic of conversation got onto a certain Colin Pitchfork. They gossiped about Colin's affairs and how he couldn't stay away from women. When Ian Kelly blurted out, "Colin had me take that blood test for him," one of his colleagues said, "What test? For the murder inquiry?" When Kelly went up to the bar, one of his work colleagues stated that Colin had offered him 200 quid to take the test, but he said no. One of the ladies that was with Kelly was deeply disturbed by what she'd heard, and a week or so later she took Ian to one side and said, "What are we going to do about Colin Pitchfork?" He said, "Leave it, he's a friend and you don't even know him." But she couldn't leave it. She was worried about getting somebody involved in a double murder, and also worried about getting Kelly into any trouble. 6 weeks passed by before she made that all-important phone call. On Saturday the 19th of September, Ian Kelly was arrested for conspiracy to pervert the course of justice and was taken to Wigston Police Station. Later that afternoon, the police arrived at Haybarn Close to arrest Colin Pitchfork for the murder of Linda Mann and Dawn Ashworth. Pitchfork asked for a couple of moments with his wife. She said, "What's going on, Colin?" He said, "It's about their murders." She said, "But you took the test and it was negative." He said, "I didn't go." She said, "Did you do it? Did you do it, Colin?" He didn't answer for a moment, but then he replied, yes. As soon as Colin Pitchfork was taken into custody, a sample was taken and sent off to the lab for testing. The results shown a perfect match. The killer had now been caught.
When Colin Pitchfork was questioned by police, he wanted to tell his story his way from the beginning without interruption. He talked about his early life, and every time police wanted to know about the murders, he became defensive. They eventually got to talk about Linda Mann's murder. He said by running back to the black pad, she blocked his exit route. And when Linda asked about his wedding ring, he knew he had to kill her, else he would get caught. He stated that Dawn Ashworth also blocked his exit route. The audacity of the man. He even requested a Chinese takeaway. The police obliged to get their answers. He remained unremorseful all the way through questioning. The police knew they were dealing with a cold-hearted psychopath. Colin Pitchfork stated that over the years he'd flashed at near enough 1,000 girls.
Pitchfork pleaded guilty at Leicester Crown Court in January 1988 to 2 counts of murder, 2 of rape, 2 of indecent assault, and conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. The court received a psychiatric report that recorded a personality disorder of psychopathic type, accompanied by serious psychosexual pathology, and warned that Pitchfork would continue to be an extremely dangerous individual while the psychopathology continues. He was sentenced to life behind bars. Justice had now been served. During time served in prison, Colin Pitchfork was considered to be well behaved and educated to degree level, as well as becoming a specialist in the transcription of music to Braille. Royal Festival Hall acquired some of Colin Pitchfork's artwork, titled Bringing Music to Life. It didn't last long on display though, as it caused public outrage. In 2009, his 30-year sentence was cut by 2 years. And in 2016 and 2018, he was denied parole. In 2018, Colin Pitchfork was moved to HMP Leyhill, an open prison, which would start to prepare him for release. Pitchfork was ruled suitable for release in March 2021. This caused outrage to the victims' families. Colin Pitchfork was released in September 2021 and was subject to over 40 licence conditions. He lasted all of 2 months before he breached his licence conditions and was escorted back to prison.
Back where he belongs, and hopefully this time for good. But for some, that sentence is for a lifetime. For over 30 years, more than 50 million people have had their DNA tested during criminal investigations, and it has secured the convictions of millions of criminals and also excluded innocent suspects like Buckland and overturned miscarriages of justice.